No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
And good morning, this is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor. Do you notice that I have a little bit different sounding voice? And it's because I am suffering from hay fever, allergies. Everything's in bloom at the moment. Dust is blowing off these trees. And I tell you, I've been sneezing, and my voice is just about gone. It's amazing to me. It is just amazing how allergies can affect you in such a way that it changes everything about how you face the day. Because you're thinking about, okay, did I take my medication for allergies so that I don't sneeze and that my voice comes back? But my voice hasn't come back. It's gotten worse. In fact, I'm losing my voice. And I don't have a cold. I don't have any of that. It's just that these trees in South Carolina, during the spring and summertime, they let off a brown dust. And that brown dust gets all over the house. And it gets all over the decks. And it gets all over the chairs. And you begin breathing it in. And that's when I start suffering. But I'm going to make it so it's okay. Hey, I was reading this morning as I prepare for content for this podcast. And I was looking at UBS. Remember UBS bought out Swiss Bank? Remember that? The real name of the company is Credit Suisse. But anyway, UBS bought them out because they were about ready to fail, right? So UBS just announced yesterday it's gutting the Credit Suisse Bank. And they're going to let go of 35,000. 35, that's a 35,000 amount of employees. They're going to gut it. They're trying to save it, but they're going to gut it. And so what's the highest number on any income statement and balance sheet? It's always wages, salaries, taxes, employment taxes. So they've got to cut. And they've got to bring the bank into whole. And when you hear 35,000 being laid off, you think, my gosh, that's a lot of people. Yeah, it is a lot of people. But it's also a lot of expense. And perhaps with UBS and Credit Suisse joining together, they may have some redundancy on people doing the same job. So I can understand why they're doing that. It's one of those stories that you don't like to hear about, but you understand the reasoning because, as we always talk about, the number one expense on every single income statement and balance sheet is you and me. And sometimes we have to be let go. And it's not a very good feeling. But it's a business decision. You don't like that feeling of a business decision, but it has to be done in order to get to an income statement that makes more sense. When you're losing money, that's not good sense. You're losing sense. I was also reading an article this morning. Now, I've talked to you many times that I'm a California refugee. And I moved out of California because I could see the writing on the wall. And I could see that things were not going to get very good in California. I saw that. And so I felt that it was time for me to move and go to another state where they wanted me. And so that's what I did. Now, California's having a problem. But also, Californians are moving to Texas, and they're saving over $1 million a year from that move. Now, so far, Californians, the number of people who have moved out of California to Texas is 111,000 people in 2021. Now, people moving from Texas into California was only 33,000. So they made the opposite direction move. But those who have moved into Texas have saved $1 million. And it goes like this. It goes, the cheapest cost for home buyers, Californians looking for a permanent Texas home can save hundreds of thousands of dollars by turning to Dallas' booming housing market, where median home prices cost about $410,000. The Californians that save the most money on a new house hail from San Jose, California, where median prices cost under $1.5 million. They can save a tremendous $1,056,939 by purchasing a Dallas home. Those hailing from other parts of California do better in Texas too, with homes in San Diego ringing up for nearly $870,000. For example, transplants can save $459,768 by buying a house in Dallas. Apartment renters are saving also. Renting an apartment in Dallas is another financially advantageous move for California transplants and will get them a slightly larger space than what they had in California. Rent prices in major California cities like San Diego and Los Angeles easily cost more than $2,600 a month, which is a far cry from Dallas' median price of $1,562 per month. So they're saving a tremendous amount of money when they move to Texas. Now just think, if you were to move to a smaller town out of Dallas or out of Houston or out of San Antonio, you would see that you would probably even save any more. The problem is that inflation in California on home prices are really out of control. They haven't really come down. We haven't seen an adjustment there. And so people who are trying to buy their first homes in California just can't. And that has to do also with places throughout California, because it's just too expensive. But if you go to states like my state here in South Carolina, and I love my state in South Carolina, you know, in Greenville, where I am at, we have good employment, and we have BMW. BMW manufacturing plant is here, and they employ a lot of people. Now, when you think of BMW, you think of just BMW, right? But you have to think also about all of the support companies that support BMW, the technology, the welding, the digital stuff, everything that goes into a BMW. Outside, it's outsourced to other little companies, and so we have other little companies that are also built here to support these larger companies. And the same thing, we have Boeing here. So Boeing has a huge manufacturing plant and employs a lot of different people. And we see more and more businesses moving into South Carolina because the home prices here are still very, very reasonable. And you can get into a nice home for way less than you could ever buy anything in California. You would be a multi-millionaire if you moved to South Carolina. But you see that California has done that to themselves. New York has done the same thing. When I was living in Florida, we had 900 people a day moving into Florida. That was during the pandemic. And the majority of those were coming from New York. It was so amazing. One time I was driving down from South Carolina down into Florida. At the Florida border, it was at the pandemic time, and they were pulling everybody over because they wanted to check to make sure that you had COVID tests, COVID shots, and everything else, and that you were not infected with COVID. So it was so amazing because the lines and with New York license plates on cars, see, I'm losing my voice, went way down the freeway. And I don't know how I did it. But I got into the truck lane, and they just waved the trucks through, and I was with them, and I just went right on through. No one ever stopped me. But that was the problem, is that New Yorkers were moving into Florida, and what did that do? It drove up the prices of real estate. Now, I was renting a place there because I wanted to make sure that that's where I wanted to live. And when I first moved there, I had a nice big 3-bedroom condo. It was 2,000 square feet. I paid $1,800 a month for it. When the New Yorkers started moving in, the landlords raised everybody's rents. I went up to $3,400. That's what they wanted to get for me was $3,400. And I said no, because I knew I could go back to South Carolina and live there for $1,800 in a very nice house, in a very nice woods, and have everything surrounding me at lower cost. Even the gasoline was lower here. The price of water was lower here. I was paying $400 a month on water in Florida. Here I pay $50. You see the big difference there. For electric, gas, I paid almost $400 because you have to run the air conditioning all 12 months of the year. Here I pay $100. That's what I pay. So you see this, the savings of moving to states where prices have been, where moving out of states, where prices have generated a huge amount of expense. And then when inflation hit, everything went bad, with food prices going up, gasoline prices going up. Now, I checked my gasoline price here in South Carolina yesterday, and we are at $3.23 a gallon. $3.23 a gallon. Now, when I moved here, we were at $1.78 a gallon. So it's still high. We still have high gas compared to what we had. But you see, when Californians overtax, they overcomplicate everything. It becomes very difficult to run businesses there because of the payroll taxes and the savings accounts and everything else that state of California does to businesses. It creates a strain, and that bottom line is no longer there because it's always running at a negative for the small business guy. And we've had a lot of big businesses like Tesla moved to Texas, and we had a tremendous amount of other companies that said, okay, enough is enough. We just can no longer take this. So they've moved. It's interesting, isn't it? How a state and a government can destroy the lives of the citizens. Instead of enhancing them, they destroy it. And they have to make other choices, so they have to move. And I have to say to everybody, I am a California refugee. But I love where I ended up at in South Carolina. Listen, if you have any business questions, send it to me at Send it to thebusinessadvisor@gmail.com. And if you would like to have a consulting session with me or a coaching session with me on business issues that you have concerns with, you can book it online at www.lodge-co.com. Everybody go out and have a great day. I enjoy my time with you. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your grace, your amazing grace. Thank you for the way that you forgive me every day. Thank you for your grace, your amazing grace. Great is your mercy. Thank you for your grace. How could I breathe without it? How could I move without it? I couldn't live